Hey everyone, welcome to Music is a Journey. I'm Peter. Today I would like to talk a little bit about the albums that I picked up in January. Got a little bit more than I expected, but a lot of fun stuff, a lot of interesting stuff, and I'd like to tell you a little bit of my opinions about them. But first I want to show you something. All right, well, I suppose I should take it out of the bag. Can you see what this is? I don't even know if the camera's focusing properly because we've been having focusing issues with the old iPhone recently. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put a photo I took of it, still in the packaging here, but there it is. This is an Iron Maiden Trooper figure from, what's it called? Bear Brick. That's bear with an at sign, at mark in the place of the A in bear. So Bear Brick, I know, actually, by chance, I just so happen to have a Chewbacca Bear Brick over here. Bear Brick, I really don't know what this is all about, but there were these little figures you could get sometimes, and they're usually made based on anything from movie characters, comic book characters, whatever. There are tons of them. And there was an Iron Maiden Trooper one, Eddie Trooper one, and an Eddie Killers one. And this one here was about half the price or less than half the price of the Killers one. So I haven't got the Killers one. But anyway, I bought this to give to somebody. Somebody in the VC who likes Iron Maiden is going to get that sent to him. All right, so let's just walk through here. First of all, this is a band called Feeder. Richard over at Richard's Vinyl Tap House. Was it Richard's Vinyl Tap House, right? Richard was talking about this album. He was talking about a number of different albums a few videos back, which looked kind of interesting to me. And I particularly liked the cover artwork on here because it has a kind of a Japanese feel to it. And in fact, as I found out, even though I believe it's an American band, one of the members has a Japanese name. So maybe that's where that's from. So what is this? Well, Feeder, this album here is called Comfort in Sound. Goes back to 2002. And it is essentially your melodic, I don't know, you want to call it alternative rock, clean guitar, lots of melodies, mostly melancholic music, but very heavy distorted guitar, but not in a, heavy metal kind of heavy, just following this kind of melodic, melancholic alternative rock from the early 2000s. Now, I only briefly gave a listen to the beginnings of a few songs, and there was a song called Godzilla, which had a really hefty, rich, full, distorted guitar sound, and I thought, that sounds cool. Let me check it out. And honestly, when I first got it, I don't know, I was probably just more in a metal mood at the time, because when I got it, the first time I listened to it, I felt like, I know this album. I've never heard it before, but I felt like I know this music. It's Jimmy Eat World. It's a little bit like one of Treble Charger's albums when they were going from that more melodic state into their more punky type of state. There was an album in between called Wide Awake Bored, which featured some very energetic, upbeat songs, maybe a little bit close to Sum 41, little bit, but also some songs that were more melancholic, melodic, and very beautiful anyway. So this, I felt, I know this album already, and at first it was just, there are only 2 songs on here where they actually, pick up the pace a little bit and throw their weight around a little bit musically. The rest of it, I just, it's too familiar to me. But some days later, after I'd been listening to some other stuff, I went back to listen to it again. I thought, okay, let's give it another listen. And I really liked it that time. It was just like, I don't know, I wasn't in the mood for it when I first heard it. And the second time, it just perfect. Like, this is a great album. So yeah, I really do like this one. So I want to say thanks to Richard for bringing this one up on his channel. I'm glad I got it. I originally had another album put aside in my Amazon shopping cart of Feeders, and after the first listen, I removed it. I'm going to put it back in again. But this is actually really cool because I got this one used. I got it through one of the online flea markets, and I paid exactly 333 yen, which is just a little bit more than what it cost me to take a bus from the nearby bus stop to the train station. It means that this is really a cheap CD, but it is next to new, and yeah, I really like it. So that was great stuff there. It would have cost me a lot more to buy it from Amazon. Next up is a band I heard about last year called Castle Rat. I saw a review on Headbanger. What's it called? Banger TV, that's it. Blaine Smith, who is a very funny guy, by the way. He's a professional comedian, as far as I know. He does the best reviews, and he reviewed this one. And just after seeing that, at least 2 other people in the VC mentioned this album here, so I wanted to get a hold of it. It was on Amazon. I thought, okay, I'll get it in November when the credit card turns over, and then it's sold like the last day of October. But I found another copy out there somewhere, and I actually got it for a little bit cheaper. So Castle Rat, this is their second album. It's called The Bestiary. I was considering using this for my horse prompt response in the metal tag, which started out, the very first prompt was, it's the year of the fire horse, show an album with a horse on the cover, but you lose street cred if you show a unicorn. And look at that, there's a unicorn on there. So maybe it's a good thing I didn't get it. But anyway, Castle Rat, there is a young lady on here who is lead vocals and plays guitar. The rest of the band, is there a picture of them in here? No, they're not pictured in here, are they? Let me have a look. Oh, okay. They're pictured there. Looks like a band of 4. I think they might have actually had 5 members at one point, but maybe they're just 4. Basically, it's stoner metal, doom metal, and female vocalist. Okay, so basically this reminds me a lot of the first couple of albums by Blood Ceremony, except that there is no organ and there is no flute. It's just electric guitars. It is pretty cool though. I do like it. I'm glad I was able to get a hold of it. This is also a new young band, I think, from somewhere around New York. So happy to support a new young band, and especially a young lady making her way in the heavy metal music scene. And there are so many of them these days, though, aren't there? Next up, so I don't remember who it was. Somebody was talking about Overkill, and I had 2 Overkill albums, both of them fairly recent acquisitions, like just in the last few years. Never got into the band in the 1980s. It was just the point where there were just so many metal bands coming out, I couldn't keep up anymore, and some of them I just couldn't get. So I bought Years of Decay about 6-7 years ago, liked it. I bought their latest album, Scorched, when it came out, really liked it, and I kept thinking I should get at least 2 or 3 more Overkill albums. Now, somebody recently was talking about Overkill. Might have been Keith at Attack from Down Under. Might have been somebody else who's, does a lot of metal type videos. But anyway, this is Horoscope, by the way. I think we're looking at 1991 here, maybe. If you don't know, Overkill are, I think, again, East Coast, maybe New York, somewhere around that part of the neighborhood. Thrash metal band from the 80s. I find their sound reminds me, especially on this album, a lot of Master of Puppets, Metallica, and Among the Living, Anthrax. In fact, there's one song on here that really reminds me of Among the Living, Anthrax. But the vocalist does have a distinctive voice. When you've heard Overkill and you've heard that vocalist, it's unmistakable among the other thrash bands of the time. Now, Overkill have continued since, I don't know when they first came out, 1984 or something like that, and they have just continued ever since. I mean, they put out a new album 2 years back. So I got this one here. I do like it. Unfortunately, I think the one I got, it was cheap. So it's probably like the original 1991 version, which means it hasn't been remastered. So the sound, the volume level is quite low. I actually had to, boost the volume up while I was listening to it. And then in iTunes, yeah, I'm still using iTunes, I know. I was able to reset the sound, like boost it up a little bit. So good sounding album. I like it. Still interested in getting a couple of more Overkill albums. Although I will say that of the 3 albums I have now, they're all very good, but not quite at the point yet where I'm going to flip out and go, that's it. That's the band. I got to get everything. But for now, I like it, and I'm going to pick up a couple more. All right. Now then, Pat at Close to the Edge made a video about his 10 favorite albums of 1976. And his number 1 was by a band called Horselips, and it is The Book of Invasions, A Celtic Symphony. So I just thought, hey, I've never heard of them before. They're a prog band from the 70s. They're Irish. That sounds cool. Let me check them out. So I gave a quick, brief listen, as I do on YouTube, and I thought, let's see if I can find a copy. And I did find a copy for quite a reasonable price. And here it is. So this is a band, they have quite a bit of variety. I think you could say that their basic setup is guitar, bass, drums, vocals, I think keyboards as well. And in some ways, very typical of a 70s rock band. You know, they can be quite dramatic with the electric guitars and almost quasi-symphonic feel to it, you know, like very dramatic music. They can rock out a little bit more, but they have a variety of different styles. Sometimes there's an acoustic song, or there's a more poppy, catchy type song. They've got a bit of flute in here. They've got a bit of piano over there. They've just quite a variety on this album, and I find it to be a very enjoyable listen all the way through. It doesn't excite me in the way that, you know, like Yes excites with Close to the Edge, or Starship Trooper, or Genesis with The Musical Box, or Firth of Fifth. It's not like that. But just the whole album is just a really pleasant listen all the way through, with nothing ever getting repetitive, nothing getting too drawn out. They keep the pace moving, which is nice. So very good. Glad to get that one. Got in this kind of paper sleeve edition here. Then I kept hearing about how AC/DC's Power Up album was actually really good. I just recently did my response to George G's AC/DC tag, and at that point, this was still in the shrink wrap because I just brought it home that day. As I said in that video, AC/DC was the first band I ever got into. I had already slowly built up, anyway, 12 albums in my collection, so this is the 13th. I don't love all of the albums. There are some I probably will not need to get, and just after a while I thought, maybe I don't need any more AC/DC albums. But I heard this one was good, so I bought it, and it is, look at this inside thing here. It is really good. I enjoyed this one. I'd say after listening to it twice, there are about 5 or 6 songs that stick out, like when I hear them, like, yeah. And then the other ones, as with a lot of AC/DC albums, even if they don't stand out, they still sound good. My favorite track on here so far is Through the Mists of Time. AC/DC have, now and again, done a song with quite a bit of melody in it. And this is one of those songs. And it's really a catchy tune. I really like that one. But yeah, great album. I'm very glad to get a hold of it. So now I'm thinking, I'm missing a few. There's a couple of AC/DC albums I never heard, like Rock or Bust, Stiff Upper Lip, Ball Breaker. Do I need to check those out? Let me know in the comments if you think they're worth checking out. All right. Then, a lot of talk last year about this one here, Cheap Trick and All Washed Up. I just felt, okay, I've got the first 3 Cheap Trick albums. I've been thinking to get the 4th one. A lot of these old bands are putting out great albums in the recent years. Let me check it out. So without even giving it any listen, I bought it. It was expensive to buy new on Amazon and Amazon Japan, but I did find a seller on Yahoo Auctions selling it for about 500 yen cheaper. So about like 350 American cheaper than the Amazon price. Yeah, around that anyway. So yeah, I was the only bidder. I got it. I listened to this album, and then this one came up. I had them on my phone, right? And then this one came up right after. And what a difference. The first 2 songs, actually the riffs and the music sound a lot like AC/DC, I felt. But the production on this, it's like we're coming at you. We're just like filling up everything and we're coming at you. It's big sound. See, you know, maybe you've seen that demonstration. You get a big glass jar and you fill it with ping pong balls, and then the person says, is it full? And everybody goes, yeah, it's full, because you can't put any more ping pong balls in there. That's what this album is like. It's full, but there is space in there. There's space between the instruments and the voices, and I really like that. This one here is that jar of ping pong balls with then little pellets or BBs stuffed in between the ping pong balls, and then sand filled in between the pellets and BBs. So it's a really dense, full package. And coming right after AC/DC, I was like, oh man, I don't think I can enjoy listening to this. It's like just too full of sound. And it honestly, by the 4th track, I was almost ready to say, VCLT anybody? But it was the 5th track. I think it's the 5th track. Oh, geez, it's all in katakana here on the back, which means my brain has to shift gears. No, it's the 6th track. 12 Gates, that's it. The 6th track, 12 Gates. That one got me. That's where I was listening to it and like, hey, I dig this one. I like this one. And I started like moving my head and like kind of trying to sing the music along with the best music parts in there. And then the song after that, I think it was Bad Blood or something like that. That sounded really good too, although the singer, I don't know if it's Robin Zander singing everything, because there's 2 other Zanders that are credited on here for stuff, but it almost sounded like Lawrence Gowan and Styx. But I like those 2 songs. And then after that, I was ready to give the album more of a chance. So I listened to it all the way through. There are 2 bonus tracks on here, which are just The Best Thing and Bad Blood alternate versions. And I haven't heard them enough to know what exactly is different about them. So the next time I listened to the album, this CD here, I knew to expect it was going to be a really full-on, filled-up sound, which I'm still not all that keen on, but I like it a little bit better now because I know to expect that. And yeah, there's still some songs it's kind of, but you know, I'm not like an enormous Cheap Trick fan by any measure. Nevertheless, I'm glad I got it. And I like, it's also one of these like mini LP type things, and you got to like pull the CD out in a little like sleeve for the CD, and then there's like the little booklet inside. I like that kind of thing. I like these mini album ones. It's just, you know, it's kind of hard to read, but it's nice. One thing I like about buying stuff online from like flea markets and auctions is that people usually send the CDs in a little plastic case like this, whereas from Amazon they will just come, you know, as they are. So there's the protection. So yeah, I'll have to listen to this a little bit more before I really get into it, but I'm keeping it. It's good. It's good. Right, and then there was Sean the Beast. Sean the Beast has such an interesting selection of metal albums because most of the bands he talks about I've never heard of before. There was a death metal band he mentioned last year. I checked them out. I liked them. I got a hold of one of their albums. And on one video he did, maybe his favorite picks from 2025, he showed this band here called Grima. Grima is a black metal band. I guess you'd call them, they're quite melodic, almost symphonic. There is some symphony in a couple of the tracks on here too. So maybe a symphonic melodic black metal band from Siberia, which is interesting. So even though all the song titles on the back are in English, all the lyrics inside are in Russian. And all of the members wear in their videos anyway these kind of like wooden bark like masks, and one of them walks around. It looks more like tree roots for fingers and that. So apparently their themes, a lot of it is really about environmentally related, ecologically related songs related to the forest and something like that. Anyway, you can read about them. There's some brief write-up about them somewhere out there on the internet. But I really liked what I heard. I watched 3 of their videos, and I think this is their 3rd album. Their first one is available on CD, 3 copies left on Bandcamp, and is 20 euros. Fortunately, I didn't have to pay that much for this. But there's a couple of tracks on here. It is, you know, black metal, so you're getting that kind of screechy growl type of vocal style, and of course full-on guitars and everything, but the melodies are really beautiful in some of the songs. Like I was almost ready to tear up from the melody. I could feel like that's so beautiful when I was listening to it. And the one other cool thing about this band is that they have an accordion. So some of the songs feature accordion. So instead of an organ, like a lot of these symphonic type black metal bands have, these guys have an accordion in, and it just really works. There is a French Canadian folk black metal band called Alelic, and they use a lot of traditional French Canadian folk instruments in their music, and they use accordion as well. So I already have some experience with that, and I just really like how it sounds in Grima's music. So great album. I don't think I'm going to be spending the money to track down their other stuff, but this one was definitely worth getting. So very big thanks to Sean the Beast for once again recommending an excellent album. And then another one that Sean the Beast talked about is a band called Enchantment. This is an English death doom band, What the story is in here is that they released an album back in 92, 93, somewhere around that time. They recorded about 80% of the material for a second album, and then they just parted ways and just left it. But that first album was reissued in 2019 on some label somewhere, and it seemed to have some interest. So they thought, well, why don't we finish that second album? So all the band members were contacting each other and, what do you have? Well, I have some demo tapes. So what do you have? Well, I have some lyrics scribbled down. Does anybody have the recordings that we did from that time? Nobody could locate those recordings from back in the 90s. So with what they had, the demos, the lyrics, and everything else they could find, they re-recorded their songs and released their second album. Finally, I think it was just last year, 2025, maybe? Could be. Possibly. Can't see it. I don't know. Fairly recently. Can't see it. Never mind. Okay, but anyway, not that long ago. And this is called Cold Soul Embrace. So it is an English death doom band. One thing that struck me on this is that a lot of the songs, the tracks, include non-metal music, meaning you'll get electric guitar, but mildly distorted and more with a rock sound, like a classic rock sound. You'll get some piano, some acoustic guitar, and then of course they do actually hit you with that more heavier guitar sound. Vocals, being death doom, of course, it's this, kind of vocal style, but you can hear the words very clearly. What puts me off a little bit is that the lyrics actually, I think, were probably on the side of poetic and beautiful. So hearing them sung in that, purposeful, deep guttural tone, I almost feel it doesn't suit the lyrics. If you're singing that way about zombies or, aliens consuming humans or whatever it is death metal bands sing about, it seems to be all right. But I think they're writing actually some beautiful poetry, perhaps, and just like, kind of voice. It's like, okay. Also, the other thing is that when it's a track that starts with just like the clean electric guitar or mildly distorted electric guitar or acoustic guitar or even piano or something, it is a very clear, rich sound. Like I said with AC/DC, there's some space between the instruments. But as soon as the band goes heavy, it's almost like somebody puts a lid on it. Like the sound just becomes really dense, and the volume, instead of like boom coming out, it's like, whoop, got to keep that extra volume a bit down there so we don't blow everybody's eardrums out. So it's a weird thing because when I'm listening to it with the earphones in, it's like, oh, this is probably going to be loud. I should probably adjust the volume. Here come the electric guitars, and I actually have to put the volume up a little bit there. So a couple of things like that kind of put me off a bit, but other than that, it's pretty decent. I would say out of the 3 albums that I bought that Sean the Beast showed, this one here, I'd say I need to listen to it a bit more to get into it. The one that I got previously sounded really good. I like it. And this Grima one here, this is what I'm going to be listening to again. Okay, last thing to show. So I did the Iron Maiden tag put out by Christian Osario, and in the tag was a question about B-sides. I really wasn't familiar with Iron Maiden B-sides. So I just started snooping around on the online flea markets and Yahoo Auction and so on. And I picked up this one. This is Iron Maiden's Wildest Dreams from the, was it Brave New World album, right? And look at that cover. Isn't that interesting? It's like Eddie's got this top hat on and this race car is driving into his mouth. Bizarre. And so the reason why I got this is because there is a song on here called Pass the Jam. And I wondered, what would a song by Iron Maiden called Pass the Jam sound like? Well, I only listened to it once when I first got it and put it on my computer, just to make sure that the CD was okay, there was nothing wrong with it. It sounded pretty darn good. And then at the very end, somebody says, "Would you pass the jam? Would you pass the jam? Would you pass the jam?" I think like 3 or 4 times. Okay, but the song itself sounded really cool. And then after that, I forget, there's one other track on here. It is Blood Brothers. There is the rock mix and Blood Brothers, the orchestral mix. So yeah, 4 tracks on here, 3 of them not off the album, so that's really cool. And now I've kind of got my eyes on some other Iron Maiden stuff. There's just loads of it out there, so might be cool to pick up some other B-side type singles out there. Anyway, and that's it. That's my January stuff. There is actually one more Iron Maiden CD. It is a live album from 1979. I forget what it's called. It's ordered and paid for off the auction, and probably it's going to arrive tomorrow. Then, there we go. February. Really got to play it cool. That's it. So, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks to all of you who presented these albums on your channels and inspired me to check them out. And we'll see you around in another video sometime, everybody. Take care.